Have you ever wondered if the stress you're feeling is more than just your typical everyday pressure? Well, in today's episode, we're diving deep into the signs that your stress might actually be high functioning anxiety. As someone who has experienced it firsthand, I know how easily anxiety can disguise itself as stress, leaving you feeling uncertain and overwhelmed. Join me as we explore the subtle yet powerful indicators that there may be more going on under the surface. This is episode number 159. Welcome to Calmly Coping, and welcome back if you are a returning listener. My name is Tati Garcia, and I'm a licensed therapist and coach who specializes in helping high achievers stop putting themselves last. If this topic interests you, then please like this video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when I release new episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in. So first, I want to give a quick kind of update because I did take a break from the podcast for a little over a month. The reason why I decided to take this break, you can learn all about in my episode. I have an announcement. If you're watching on YouTube, you can check it out in the corner. But, to kind of sum it up quickly, I was feeling like I was not motivated to make episodes anymore. I was kind of just in this place of churning content out and lost connection with that passion. And really, that's the reason why I make this, because I'm passionate about getting this message out there and helping you so that you don't have to struggle. And so I'm happy to say that from taking this break, it really allowed me to take a step back, to gain some clarity and insight and focus and really reconnect with why I'm doing this, along with a plan moving forward. And so the decision that I have come to is that rather than releasing episodes weekly, which is what I have been doing for basically the entire history of this podcast, now we're on episode 159, so I've been doing it for a while now. It's been a little over 3 years. I actually want to transition to releasing episodes every other week. And the reason for that is because it will allow me the space and time that I need to put my best effort into creating episodes. And because of that, I want to create higher quality episodes. I want to really focus on making them impactful rather than just getting them out for the sake of consistency and getting out another episode. So I want to continue to be consistent, however, at a less frequent pace. For me, that is what feels really good right now. I don't know if it will be that way forever, but I do know that that is what's most important for me, for my business, and also for me to care for my mental health. And so maybe this is a sign for you. If you're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out, or like you're just going through the motions and things, maybe it's time for you to take a step back. And so whether that means taking an hour a day or a month or more to kind of reassess and determine, are the actions that you're taking on a daily basis getting you closer to your goals? And are these actions actually fulfilling for you? I know it really depends on your job, your unique situation. You don't always have 100% control over the things that you're doing. Even if you find that what you're doing now doesn't align with how you want to feel with your values, that can maybe be an opportunity to see if maybe it's time to take a step in a different direction. So anyway, that is my quick kind of update and check-in. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the change in frequency or any of that. But now let's get straight into the episode topic, because I know that's probably why you're here. So first, let's talk about the difference between stress and anxiety, because this is a question that I get asked a lot. So really, one of the main differences between stress and anxiety is that stress is very specific and focused on external stressors or events or situations. So it's usually there is a specific thing like a deadline or a job interview or a relationship issue or whatever it might be that is then triggering stress. So it's often a short-term experience that kind of will resolve once that stressor is removed or it is resolved. The problem is over. So like, the job interview is done or the deadline has passed. Now, there is also something that's referred to as chronic stress. And so this is when there is an ongoing long-term issue that is causing you to feel stressed in your life. So this can be a big life transition or change. It could be prolonged work stress, financial problems, relationship issues. So this is when you're really in a state of constantly feeling stressed. So I'm going to talk about what that can look like and feel like. The thing is that both stress and anxiety do have overlap, so they can have similar symptoms. And so this can look like tension in your body, things like headaches, muscle pain, or any of those kinds of symptoms. It can also look like increased heart rate, difficulty sleeping, high blood pressure, fatigue, difficulty concentrating or thinking or making decisions, digestive issues, irritability, worrying, restlessness. I could go on and on. There are many signs and symptoms of stress and anxiety, but those are the main ones. And that is where the overlap occurs. Now I want to talk about the difference. So what anxiety is versus what I just described as stress. So anxiety can certainly be triggered by external events, and it's often also related to deep-rooted fears that you personally hold. And it's also this general feeling of unease, dread, like something bad is going to happen, always focusing on the worst case scenario. And really, one of the main differences is that anxiety can persist even after a stressor has resolved or a stressor is no longer present. Your mind might find things to worry about even if everything is okay. Or, it could be an exaggerated response to something that is happening externally. So your mind might tend to exaggerate the likelihood of a negative outcome and really focus on and amplify that and kind of latch onto it and, overthink things and ruminate about them and really kind of stay stuck in that place of mentally trying to problem solve or predict or plan for the worst case scenario. Anxiety also often involves worrying about the future. So, what might happen, focusing on and anticipating negative consequences in situations. And it's really that focus on what could go wrong. Stress and anxiety can also be connected. So stress and being in a state of stress can actually lead to anxiety, especially chronic stress. And stress can also exacerbate anxiety if you're somebody who already struggles with anxiety. That is the general overview of the difference between stress and anxiety. So stress is more short-term, specific, related to an external trigger. And anxiety, although it can be prompted and triggered by stress and external triggers, is also very internal and more prolonged and focused on that worrying and thinking of the worst case scenario and outcome and those long-term feelings of dread and like something bad is going to happen. So now, what is high-functioning anxiety? It's often hidden under the external appearance of success. So you're quote-unquote functioning well, meaning you're able to do things and succeed and even excel in your day-to-day life. And you often appear calm and hardworking on the outside. With high-functioning anxiety, fear and worry, and this anxiety, actually propels you forward into taking action because you're worried that things will fall apart or that something really bad will happen if you do not do that. And if you don't continue working hard, saying yes to everything and doing everything perfectly. So with high functioning anxiety, there's also a focus on achievement, on staying busy and pushing yourself hard that is driven by internal fear, worry, and insecurity. If you're new to high functioning anxiety and you're not sure if you have it, I have a free quiz that you can take that will let you know whether or not you have it, along with the next steps to take, and you can take that at hfaquiz.com. So, what is the difference between high functioning anxiety and quote unquote regular anxiety? So this could be generalized anxiety disorder, which is a mental health disorder, or any other mental health disorder, or just like plain old anxiety. So the thing with anxiety is that in general, it tends to hold people back in fear and avoidance. So it can make it harder to function in daily life. This holding you back can, let's say, make it harder to work or get through your day or maintain healthy relationships or take care of your basic needs. Whereas with high functioning anxiety, that fear actually tends to propel you forward into doing more and actually into achieving more. So that's really one of the main difference. And I want to clarify that neither one, whether it's high functioning anxiety or general anxiety disorder, neither one is good or bad or better or worse. They're just different. And, it's just a different type of anxiety. And there are different ways that anxiety show up in different people. Now let's get to the signs that your stress may actually be high functioning anxiety, now that you have kind of the foundational understanding of these concepts. So the first overarching sign, and this is a pre-sign, is that you have a constant need for achievement and success. And so this is something that has to be present in order for you to be in that category of high functioning anxiety. So you're hardworking and you tend to go above and beyond and put your all into things. Now that we have that pre-sign, sign number 1 is you are constantly overthinking things. You might often be worrying about something bad happening or something going wrong. Maybe if you have a meeting coming up, you're worrying about, what if I make a mistake? What if I look stupid in front of everybody? What if something bad happens and, I'm not able to make it to the meeting on time? What if I get in an accident? So it's all of these kind of what ifs and worrying, and it's often focused on the worst case scenario, no matter how likely or unlikely that might be. So you're often focusing on the negative and exaggerating the likelihood of negative outcomes happening. And maybe you're overthinking and your mind is going through all of these possible scenarios and outcomes and trying to prepare for something bad that might happen mentally, even though in reality, mentally doing this does not prepare you anymore for something bad or good that might happen. It just makes you feel more anxious. It just makes you feel more stressed and overwhelmed. Another common type of overthinking that occurs with high functioning anxiety is all or nothing thinking. So thinking of, it's either I'm going to do perfect or I'm going to fail this. So kind of focusing on the extremes when in reality, most of life occurs in that gray area and in the in-between. Sign number 2 is that you have a strong fear of failure. Maybe you're always trying to do more or accomplish more because you're afraid of what might happen if you don't. You feel that things might fall apart or, something really bad will happen if you do not continue to try. It might feel like it's never good enough, no matter how much you do, no matter how much you accomplish, no matter how many promotions you get or degrees or titles or certificates or whatever. It still feels like it's never good enough. And you still feel like you're constantly struggling to try and get to that next step. And then when you arrive to that next step, you're focused on the next thing and the next. And this is kind of related to this, but you might also struggle with imposter syndrome. So that feeling of, what if people find out that I'm not qualified for this? You might worry about what other people think of you, feel like you are a fraud, even though you aren't and you are qualified for what you're doing. And you might also have this feeling that you need to prove yourself to others, prove that you're qualified, prove that you know what you're doing because of that worry within you. Sign number 3 is you have difficulty relaxing. So when it's time to wind down, take a break, get home from work, go somewhere on the weekend, you find it hard to actually just relax and be present. It can be hard for you to switch off from doing and from being productive. You find that you're constantly in the state of doing and busyness, and you feel like you need to be doing more and more. And you might struggle with slowing down and feel like your thoughts get even louder when it's time to take a break. And you might feel this guilt and this pressure to just keep going. You might also always be thinking about work and what you should be doing and feel like, oh, I'm lazy, or I should be doing more, shouldn't be taking a break. I need to earn this. I didn't do enough today, and so I don't deserve to relax. So you may have some of these thoughts going through your mind. And it might also be hard to enjoy time with your loved ones and actually be fully present, whether it is for yourself, for your family, for your friends. You might find that your mind is always somewhere else or focused on your to-do list or worries about the future or your responsibilities. Sign number 4 is you have a very strong inner critic. You could be very hard on yourself. You beat yourself up if things don't go according to plan, or if you make a mistake or things don't go as expected. You have this really harsh internal voice that says things to you that you couldn't even imagine saying to somebody else. And you might struggle with self-doubt and questioning yourself and doubting your decisions or your abilities as a result of this strong inner critic that constantly puts you in this state of wondering, am I doing this right? Or, I'm a failure, or whatever it might be. Sign number 5 that your stress might actually be high functioning anxiety is you have very high expectations for yourself. You put tons of pressure on yourself and everything needs to be perfect and the best, and you need to put tons of preparation into things. You need to go above and beyond, and your baseline is basically above and beyond. So just doing enough isn't enough. You feel like you always need to be doing more and more and more. You could be a perfectionist. So this is when you expect everything to be perfect and you feel like you aren't allowed to make mistakes and you have these impossibly high standards for yourself. And as a result, you might be sensitive to making mistakes, to rejection, to failure or criticism or judgment from others. Sign 6 that your stress might be high functioning anxiety is that you have difficulty saying no or letting others down. You worry about the worst when it comes to, you're asked to do something and you want to say no, but you say yes because you're worried, am I going to let them down? Are they going to think I'm not a good friend? Does my boss, are they not going to think that I'm devoted enough to this job? Am I going to miss out on an opportunity? So there's all of these worries and fears that this bad thing will happen if you say no. Are they going to think that I'm too lazy, et cetera, et cetera? Because of that, it feels really difficult to say no. So you say yes to everything and then overload yourself as a result, and then you feel overwhelmed. So these were my 6 signs that your stress is actually high functioning anxiety. So let me go through the signs one more time. So sign 1 is you're constantly overthinking things. Sign 2 is you have a strong fear of failure. Sign 3 is you have difficulty relaxing. Sign 4 is you have a strong inner critic. 5 is you have very high expectations. And sign 6 is you have difficulty saying no or letting others down. If you resonate with these signs that I mentioned in this episode, your action tip is to just acknowledge this. Just acknowledge that this is hard and you're struggling with this, and be kind and compassionate to yourself. Recognizing that you're struggling and that this is happening for you is the first step to making positive changes, because it's so easy to get stuck in the autopilot and just feel like this is just the way that I am. This is just the way that things are. And sometimes when you have these light bulb moments of, oh, wait, this isn't just the way that I am, and other people are maybe experiencing this too, that can be a moment for you to make positive changes so that you can stop struggling and start thriving and feeling better in your day to day. And I suggest taking one small step this week to take care of yourself in whatever way that looks like for you. So that can mean taking a mental health day off from work. It can mean just taking an actual break during work, especially if you're the kind of person who doesn't do that. It could be asking for help if you feel as though you can use it and benefit from it. It could be saying no to something that you really want to, but you're afraid to. It could be sharing how you feel and sharing that you're experiencing this with somebody that you trust. So there are so many ways that you can take steps to care for yourself, and I just want you to focus on taking one of those steps this week. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below letting me know your thoughts on this question. So which sign of high functioning anxiety that I mentioned resonated with you the most? If you've got questions about this episode, be sure to reach out to me directly via becalmwithtati.com. And while you're there, be sure to take my free training on how to overcome high functioning anxiety so you can learn my 3-phase process to feel calm, balanced, and confident from within. There's also a link to that below. And while you wait for my next episode, I have other episodes about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy. So be sure to check out these episodes here. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and until next time, be calm.